beautiful day here down in the southeast of the UK. We're into beginning of February now. We've got some nice dry weather, and I thought now is really the perfect opportunity to start doing any grafting in the home garden. Now you might think, well, why do I want to graft anything in the home garden? There's a couple of reasons that why you might want to do that. First of all is lack of space. Sometimes, especially in urban gardens, you were limited as to how many fruit trees we can grow, and so grafting different varieties onto a tree gives us a lot more variety in a smaller space. So rather than having to have different varieties of apples or different varieties of trees scattered around the garden, on one tree we can have 5, 6, 7 or more varieties. So we get a longer harvest season because different fruits come in at different times, so we get that. But also the second reason why is because we get better cross-pollination. Fruit trees, although most are potentially self-fertile, you do get better fruit set when you can combine them with different varieties. So behind me here is a pear tree. Now the main tree is a conference pear, but onto it I've grafted different varieties and different other varieties of pear. There's Asian pear, there's a few others on there, and so what I was just going to show you today is a simple method of grafting onto different fruit trees. This can be applied with anything from cherries to pears, apples. The rules are that you have to keep really within the variety, so a pear to a pear, apple to an apple. You can apply it with figs as well as citrus to a certain extent as well. So the tools you're going to need are grafting knives. Now you can get two different types of grafting knife. This is a Felco one. The difference between a grafting knife as opposed to a normal knife is that it has a chiseled edge to it. So one side is tapered whilst the other is flat. You've got a flat edge underneath there and a tapered edge on there. So this is the Felco one. This one is generally used if you're making a cut towards you, because you want the flat edge down against the branch that you're taking and the chiseled edge on the top. So that's the Felco one. This one is a Japanese one which I got, which has a locking blade, which is quite nice for safety. But this one is the flat edge is that way and the beveled edge here, so it's for cutting away that way. I generally prefer using that, so whenever you're making a cut you're generally always putting the thing away from you. So the other things that I tend to use is you'll want a pair of secateurs, decent pair of those, and something to bind the graft to the tree with. I use PTFE tape. It's cheap, it's easy to come by, and it also holds the moisture into the graft until it takes. Now we do this during the dormant time of the year when the trees are not actively growing. It doesn't mean that they aren't growing or doing anything, because when you graft whilst it's dormant, the cambium layer, which is a green outer layer on a tree, sap is always moving in there. And so when you graft, even when it's not doing anything actively, that union will still seal and heal. And so come the season when it starts pushing out growth, that will already start to be scarring up. And so you can get a nice join to it. The simple way that I'm going to be showing you today is called a whip graft, which is a straight cut. Okay, so you can see the the piece of branch that we're going to use to graft onto. Again, as I said, this is the main variety is a conference, and we're going to be grafting on a red Williams onto here. And so what we're going to do is the simple and easiest thing to do is to pick a piece of wood that is at least the same diameter, because that just makes life so much easier. So this is basically going to take this and stick it on here. So if we take a cut off of here, this is where we're going to be grafting down. Find a similar piece on here and we can cut that off to there. So now what we want to do is inside this piece of wood, there's just underneath the bark is what's known as a cambium layer. Now the cambium layer is the living tissue which forms and sends the sap and everything around the tree, and those two layers are what you need to line up for it to take as a graft. So the easiest way that we do that is by forming a diagonal slant on this piece of wood here. So we're going to take a slice and run that through there. You want to get it as flat as you can. And cut that piece off there. So run it until you can keep doing it until you find the nice smooth edge. That's why the knife is in a beveled flat edge, so you get this piece here as flat as you can. You then want to match that on the other piece. So we're going to do that from here. So there we go. So we have a nice flat piece from there and a nice flat piece from there. Then all we do is we line them up together like that. That then forms our union between the tree, the rootstock, and the scion, which is the piece of tree we're adding to it. But using just a piece of PTFE tape, I find is fairly straightforward and easy. So again, line your 2 layers up, put them on the tree like that, pinch them together so they form nice and tight. The better and the more time you spend on accurately lining these up, the better chance the piece has of taking. Then all we do is bind the piece together. Again, make sure they keep them well lined up and form a nice tight wrap. The nice thing about using PTFE tape is that it also keeps the moisture in the graft, because you don't want it drying out until it's healed up and scarred up together. So just keep going and wrapping it together like that. Next thing you then want to do is then using a pruning grafting sealant, which is basically like a gunk that dries. You see like that. That then prevents the PTFE tape from unwinding, coming off, and again it provides another waterproof barrier to the graft. You also want to remember, once you've put the graft on, keep an eye on it as it grows, because it expands, and you just want to then just cut the tape off as it grows, because otherwise it will cut into the branch. And so really that is it. You can do that then to other varieties. Don't forget now to label your grafts that you've done. This one here we have is a Williams pear variety. Got a Shinseki Asian pear down there, another pear variety up here. And so have a go, have the confidence in giving it a try. Simple whip graft is one of the easiest ones to start with, so try that on different trees and experiment, and it's just such a worthwhile thing to do around the garden. So hope you're all well, and hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.